What do you think of the UK investing £1 billion in the semiconductor industry?
Right, but I don't think they've really called it a chip act because that kind of puts it into the same kind of scenario of what's happening in China, in the US, and in other parts of Korea and other parts of the world. And if you compare that $1 billion investment that the UK is putting in compared with the $50 billion in China over 3 years, in the US over 5 years, in the EU over 10 years, it is obviously insignificant when measured against that. But I think that's an apples and oranges kind of measurement there. What you need to not think about is the UK has for a long period of time actually lacked a strategy for its high-tech businesses. And including semiconductors. So it really hasn't had an industrial strategy for its semiconductor industry for a very long time. I mean, you are literally talking 30 years or something like that. So it's kind of supported the R&D, the research, to a certain extent. There's a lot of support for research in the UK. And out of that research comes an awful lot of technology, which is world-class, and a lot of it is bought by world-class companies because it is good. But what they're trying to do, I think, with this £1 billion investment is to try to get a coordination to what are we doing in this research? Can we bring it up to one level in terms of turning it into a pilot line to take it to the next level up the value chain, and to ask the users to determine what should we be doing? Should we be going into high volume production? Is there a need to have this here? Not to compete with the likes of TSMC or Samsung with today's products, but to compete at the leading edge for tomorrow's products, because that's where the research is being done in the UK. So if you want to commercialize that, you're looking at something that's 5 to 10 years down the road. But for the UK to spend 50 billion over the next 10 years on a parallel chip act would be suicide. It would be crazy because they don't know what to do with it. So the first step is to find out, here's what we're good at, here's what we're doing, can we move it up the value chain? And at the moment, the UK is very small. So, you've got potentially a long way to go, but it would be silly to try to become a competitor to a TSMC. Or a competitor to a Samsung or a SK Hynix or something like that. But when you're looking at the next generation of technologies where there is no winner, where nobody has a foothold, why not? I mean, the UK is just as capable of being a supplier in the future technologies as anybody else is. And, you have to remember, Taiwan was a tiny island 30 years ago when TSMC was founded with no electronics industry and no semiconductor industry. And it's smaller than the UK. So, just because we're a small island doesn't mean to say you can't be number one in something. But the question is, what is that something? And it's not today's product. It would be tomorrow's product. And that's why the investment in R&D is so crucial. But now the difference is R&D with a purpose. What could we do with that? What is the potential of developing that into a world-class technology? It's more of an investment in understanding the future. It's a stepping stone. Now, it may be the first step and only step I mean, it depends on lots of things. We go back to giving up, but it could also be the first of several steps.
What is the internal logic of counter-cyclical investment in the semiconductor industry?
Yeah, well, I think the only way to really manage this cycle efficiently is to invest counter-cyclically. So now is the time you should be building new factories, because then they'll be available in 2 years' time. And that would be just at the time when the industry is going to start to feel under a supply crunch in terms of there not being enough capacity. And you'll be there with your capacity. So you will get all of that business that the other people can't deal with because they'll have run out of capacity by then. So that's the classic way to manage this supply and demand cycle, is to invest when the market is down and to stop investing when the market is increasing, which is counterintuitive to what your heart tells you to do. But it should be what your wallet tells you to do, because that means that you will have capacity when the market is coming to an acceleration, and your competitors won't because they won't have invested at that same time. But that's hard to do because you have to have, shareholders who are willing to actually allow you to invest countercyclically and to do that. But if you do, you will be the winner. And companies that do that, I think certainly the Korean companies, SK Hynix and Samsung try to do that. TSMC tries to do that. And they are successful. They really do reap the benefits of that. But it's very hard because you do have a shareholder to answer to, and your shareholders will simply say, why are you spending all this money building new factories when there is no demand? And that's a very hard question to answer, except trust me. And trust me is doesn't allow you to spend $10 billion, okay? You need a little bit more than just trust me